that completely changed everything, because it kind of opened the veil of, oh wait, this is real. Like, let's dive deeper, dive further, and what can we all learn about this? Like, before then, genuinely, we're not really believers in the paranormal. Weird things had happened, but after that, it was kind of like, okay, all right, maybe there's more to this.
Hello, mystics, and welcome to the Occult Unveiled. I'm Ashley Ryan, and this week we have two very special guests, American paranormal investigators and YouTube extraordinaires, Sam and Colby. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, it is such a blessing to have you two here. Congratulations on 10 million followers. Amazing.
Thank you.
It's
surreal.
Wild ride for sure.
It definitely has, because you two didn't start in the paranormal, did you? You started with comedy.
Yeah, no. So we started on Vine back in 2014. So it's almost been a decade now, but complete opposite of the paranormal. Yes.
So what got you there? What were you guys were like, oh yeah, ghosts, let's go ghost hunting. Like, what inspired you to start doing this?
Yeah, that's super interesting. So for a long time, we didn't really know what to do. So we just chose the trendy comedy stuff as much as possible. Then we were kind of getting sick of that. We realized, what can we do that we're genuinely interested in? And Colby and I grew up in Kansas. And so the only thing to do in Kansas was to break into abandoned places.
Fun.
So we did that quite often, actually. And that was where we hung out. And then so we decided, all right, let's just do that on YouTube. And so we started going to a bunch of abandoned places. And with a lot of old, decrepit places comes a lot of haunted lore. And so a lot of the times we learn about these haunted locations, or weird things would start to happen here and there. And then we were like, okay, well, that's actually really interesting too. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of, haunted came from abandoned, which we had done even prior to YouTube. So
okay.
Kind of lifelong journey.
So what was the first paranormal experience that you guys had that you're like, okay, this is real?
I mean, we always say Queen Mary.
Queen Mary. Queen Mary, a historic British ocean liner, believed to be haunted due to numerous reported paranormal encounters. Speaking of queens, Pythian, would you want to be a queen? No, Ashley. I'm a priestess, a handmaiden of the goddess.
There was probably some before then, but Queen Mary was the first one that we could both remember that was life-changing. We went to room B340, B340, most haunted room on the ship. And they didn't allow anybody to stay overnight there for the past 20 years, something like that.
And they closed it down for 20 years because this ocean liner was I don't know, it was apparently haunted for such a long time, but this specific room had people dying in it unexpectedly multiple times throughout this couple year period. So they decided, you know what, we don't know what's going on in there. Let's just shut it down. So they didn't have it down for a long, long time. And then in 2018, I think, or late 2017, they finally opened it up to the public, and we were able to get in there for in the first couple of days that it was open for the first time in a couple decades. So that was really intense.
Okay, but what happened to you?
So, I mean, actually the entire night when we have the video on YouTube, but it was active, but nothing really that was blowing us away or anything. And it was towards the end of the night. I can't remember what time it was, 2, 3 a.m. We were packing up, cameras turned off. And immediately as we were about to leave the room, the water faucet turns on full blast for 1 second. And so I instantly lunge forward, towards the camera, grab it, start recording. You can see in all of our faces, what just happened.
Wow.
Run to the bathroom. There's water all over the sink and stuff. And so we figured that because it wasn't as active with the cameras on, that we would try to communicate turning off all cameras. And so that's what we did. Turn off all cameras, turn off all the lights, and then proceeded to have this 2-3 hour conversation through knocking, kind of like Conjuring experience, which we'll get into, with something in that room in the Queen Mary.
Yeah, it's the first, again, this is no equipment. This is our first time ever doing an investigation, taking it seriously. And we pretty much had given up at this point.
Yeah.
But at that point, we were okay, if this is maybe a sign that the water faucet turned on, how about us and our roommates that were there at the time, like all just genuinely really believe. Let's like sit there because like we want this stuff to be real. And so we're like, all right, let's just like actually try really hard. And we called out responses and knocking and like answers over and over and over again in different ways for a very long conversation. And that completely changed everything because it kind of opened the veil of, oh, wait, this is real. Like, let's dive deeper and dive further. And what can we all like, learn about this? Like before then, genuinely, like we're not really believers in the paranormal. Weird things had happened. But after that, it was kind of like, okay, all right, maybe there's more to this.
Okay, so out of both of you, who's the more of the skeptic? I know, Colby, you're a little bit more psychic, a little more sensitive, right? So does
I definitely have been the most skeptic over the years, for sure. I mean, quite frankly, before Queen Mary, I was like not religious at all, not spiritual at all. I was just like, oh, like weird stuff happened. Maybe I can't explain that, but like I did not think it was going to be a spirit or a ghost. But then at that point, it kind of like piqued my interest, and then like this entire journey has basically been
chasing that
in an attempt to chase more of that and kind of figure it all out. Because I was, very, very much still like, okay, I'm interested in this. I know something could possibly happen, but like I want that proof. So we've been chasing the proof the entire time.
And that all accumulated into the Conjuring House Hell Week experience that you two have gone through. Let's dive into that. Why the Conjuring House?
It's like the most famous haunted location in the United States, I believe.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I think so. We've been a couple times in the past, back in 2021, I believe. And it was our best performing video on our channel too, honestly. So we were just like, what do people want to see? Probably us going back to the Conjuring House, but this time not just for one night, but we decided we wanted to see if we could stay an entire week there. And so, yeah, it was more of like a 10 million subscriber sort of trope. And I think we were planning for a while.
Yeah. I mean, whenever we talk about it, we say like, oh, the single like scariest thing we can do is sleep overnight at the Conjuring House. So if we're going to do something big this year and we're going to maybe hit 10 million subscribers this year, why not face our fears to the nth degree? And
for 7 days.
Over and over and over. Like by far the scariest place we think we've been to.
Yeah, I know that's certainly being there and in the it's just so old. When you walk onto that property, it's just, you feel the weight of everything that has happened there. And you just said the word scariest. All right. What scared you the most during Hell Week?
Oh my God. There's a lot. Well, in general, I think the Conjuring House, just like you said, has that feeling of when you walk in, it's different. We've been doing this for years and years and years, but even this is the third or fourth time we've been to the house. We walk in and it's just different.
Yeah, I mean, the house was, just to give a little bit of history on it, like the house was deeded in 1680, and then it was like constructed and built to like the state that it looks like now in 1736. So this is a very
300-year-old house. And it's been on the land of like one of the bloodiest battles per capita in the world.
The Great Swamp Massacre, a crucial battle fought during King Philip's War in 1675, described as one of the most brutal and lopsided military encounters in all of New England's history.
Definitely in the United States. So it's like, it's just, there's a lot of stuff that's happened on that land and it hasn't changed much for 300 years. So it just like basically like, I don't know, holds all that energy. But in terms of the scariest things that happen, I mean, like our whole shtick was like wanting to sleep overnight. And we even like completely wussed out the first night because we couldn't sleep overnight there. It's just like horrible. And like the next 3 nights we stayed up till like 5 a.m. because we wanted to see the light out before we were going to bed.
Yeah.
Aww.
It was really scary. But I mean, less like maybe scary, more so like just absolute shock factor was meeting Cody and Satori.
Cody and Satori, the paranormal investigator couple as seen on the Travel Channel's Ghost Hunters.
And doing their method. I don't know if you had gotten to see that, or you weren't there around that time, but it was basically this huge full circle moment, because as we were just describing, our first Queen Mary experience was like this tapping and knocking and these responses back and forth all around the room. And this, 6 years later, was the same thing, but just infinitely more perfect and infinitely more like accurate. And so we were able to basically, for the first time, like for that extended period of time with that type of accuracy, have like a genuine conversation with the afterlife. And it completely blew our mind, because obviously we've experienced a lot of cool things, but never to this accuracy and like just
no equipment.
It was just purely out of thin air. It's like amazing.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
So set aside.
I mean, I saw the pictures. Like, you were in tears, both of you. Like, that had to change your philosophy of life.
1,000%. Yeah, we've been saying this for like ever since it happened, but it completely changed everything, because like we're saying, up until this point, it's been just a battle this entire time, like this entire like last 5 years, 6 years that we've been doing the haunted stuff, to find proof. And although we've gotten extremely convincing things, we've had like really interesting like experiences, like at the end of the day, if you really like tried to prove that to the world, people will be like, oh no, this is why this happened, or this is why this happened. And someone's always
threw a rock in the corner.
Someone always is like, no, you guys fake that, or no, this is like whatever. And it's just like, okay, well, how do I prove this to the world? And this was that moment that really set in of like, oh, this is a whole new level. Like, this is like something like, no matter how hard any of like our skeptical friends or fans or anything like that try to debunk, this is truly undebunkable to a point where it completely shattered any possibility of doubt in the afterlife.
Wow.
That I had. So that was why, like, immediately I just completely broke down, and you can see it in my face that like, oh, okay, all that doubt out the window after that. It's crazy.
Did you feel scared when you had that realization?
A little bit, because there's always, part of your identity that is wrapped up in that doubt. No matter how much faith you have in a religion or spirituality, there's always that like, oh, like I am human. I have doubts and stuff like that. And so when that was thrown out the window for the first time, like 100% ever, it was kind of like my whole identity changed in that moment. My whole spirituality like changed, because I had this like absolute proof and everything. Mm-hmm. So it was just one of those moments that I really felt I could tell in that moment, I am having a life-changing moment right now. And so that was scary. It wasn't like I was scared that it was happening, but it was scared that like everything that I once, thought, and now has now all the doubt, any possible doubt I had is now gone. And so now, I don't know, it just carved a new path.
I feel like in a weird way, it's like almost a humbling experience, because a lot of people, forget that, like, to your point, your entire, like, everything that you believed at one point was technically wrong. And so like, it's not just like a mind blowing, like, I'm learning so much about the spiritual, but it's also just something that you have to like sit with and almost heal a past version of yourself. Like, wait, maybe I was like thinking about all of this completely wrong for years.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. I had that experience, that life-changing moment when I was 14 years old. I went to a Roman Catholic school in a Roman Catholic church, and we were surrounded by these, I'm not kidding, 30-foot paintings of just stuff that happens in the Bible. There's like Solomon, depending, like he's going to pretend to like cut the baby in half. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, the first commandment is thou shalt have no other gods before me. And it was like, oh my God, there are other gods. My entire framework just shattered at that moment. I was like, holy, there's so much more that I don't know.
Oh, that is really, really interesting. Yeah, like those moments that like reshape the way you think are like pretty intense. And so, yeah, we had one of those pretty intense moments at The Conjuring. But I don't know. Like we're just so excited to see like where this takes us, because now that we have this like mindset on everything, and we know that these types of things are possible. It's like now this is just like a new stepping stone for a whole new world. You know?
Yeah, you've opened up the world of the occult, the hidden.
Exactly. Did you have that same type of like experience?
I mean, okay, what was interesting is I've always believed in God. I've always been Christian, born and raised. And so I don't think it was of course it was like mind shattering. But it wasn't like I believed that nothing happens after you die and then like, oh, now the afterlife's real. It was more like, how does this coincide with my beliefs already? So it was, again, everybody that's like experiences something like this is going to take it personally and in their own way and try to cope with it.
Of course.
In their own way. And so again, for me, it was more so like, wait, so how does this relate to Christianity? Does it those questions were more like arising in my brain rather than just being like, oh, this is all real. What? That's crazy.
Well, I was just like more so not like it was all real, because I was like, yeah, like we've been doing paranormal stuff that blew my mind for the last like 6 years. It was the perfect accuracy and like this world of like, like these people come together, and it's so much more powerful on such a different level that we've ever experienced before. And in that power, we were able to connect with people that like were really special in our world, like my grandma. Mm-hmm. Like I've seen, or not seen, but like talk to spirits of all these different places over the last 6 years. But to have someone that was so close in my life come back and give me an own message, it really spoke to me, I guess, in a way that I'd never really like comprehended before. And so when you're getting, friends and family and loved ones that are coming back, it just really opens up, oh wait, how much more of this do I not understand, how all this is happening?
Yeah, I know that feeling. You're like searching in the dark. You're like, wow, I have so much to learn, and I have this tiny little light to guide me. And that's why I am so grateful that you two have reached out to me and allowed me to help you on this path. Your producer, Zach, learned about me through the Occult Unveiled. Had you listened to the podcast before?
I think he was just doing a deep dive overall on all this stuff, because at this point, at the beginning of the year, which is something we should get into, we were really, really interested in like learning more, like widespread, because very like centered on just like the ghost stuff the last couple of years. And so we're like, what other parts of like this paranormal world have we not tapped into? And I think we should talk about that too. But one of the things that was like absolutely crazily like impressive to us is like the first time we met, and how scarily perfect your tarot card reading was in January. But maybe we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean that's Colby's story. So let's poor Colby.
Yeah. I wish I could have like the footage of exactly what was said right in front of me, but I do know that it wasn't a, correct me if I'm wrong, like a horrible reading, but it definitely was like a misfortunate reading, I would say, where it's like, you are going to have like a hard next 6 months emotionally.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't want to scare you guys, but you had all like the really sad, scary cards. It was like, I genuinely thought, I'm like, oh man, their spiritual life is just so dark right now. I need to like help these people cleanse. I knew that some kind of sadness, illness, I thought it was depression. I didn't think it was going to be cancer.
Literally, what's crazy about that is I'm pretty sure we filmed early January, or maybe it was. I
think we filmed this like December. 3 days before your first doctor's appointment.
Oh my God.
So I don't know, exact timeline, but definitely within that week or within that month, I got diagnosed with cancer for the next 6 months, and then I was like told I was cancer free at the end of your tarot card reading as well, which is super. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
That experience at the beginning of the year, we were like, all right, let's get into this. We were really interested in the tarot stuff because we'd heard about it, but we'd never really like done it to the point where we're like, okay, like, I really understand this in any capacity. And so when we heard that, we're like, that's interesting that you say that, but like, we'll take that with a grain of salt and kind of move on with our lives. And then it started kind of unveiling that all that stuff was true. And I was like, oh, wait, oh God, this is not good, because most of the stuff we were getting read was negative.
And Sam had the relationship troubles that you left your girlfriend, and I saw that coming, and I was like, as a reader, as someone you meet for the first time, you're like, oh God, I don't want to tell them their whole lives are going to fall apart. Oh geez, how do I be nice about this?
I know. We were like, I don't even know if we were going to include the relationship stuff in the video, because we're like, oh God, I don't want to like make it rocky. But then boom, like lo and behold, we ended up breaking up too. And so it's like this whole thing, and it all made so much sense. But yeah, from then on, we were like, okay, tarot and stuff like that, it's a whole another thing we don't understand, and how powerful that is. And then, after meeting with you, and you taught us how to like cleanse a little bit, this entire year, we've been way, way better for the very, very first time about cleansing and using like the holy water and saying our goodbyes, and really trying to make sure that we don't have things attached to us, because we
thank
realized
goodness
from you, like, oh God, there's a lot of things that could potentially.
I know. Remember when we cleansed your neck and you had all those red marks from the attachments?
Yeah. I think that was part of it. Like as soon as you put that on, it was like burning for like 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, well maybe this is not good.
That's probably not supposed to burn.
Like I don't know.
No, it's not. I had a recent reaction with that. I was at the El Cid on Sunset doing a performance, and I cleansed myself with holy water, and I didn't even feel the burn. I like looked in the mirror, and it had a gigantic 7 on my neck. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm listening. Did I upset someone? But like after doing the reading, like it was the lucky number 7. And this was a good moment for me. And I was just like, I don't have experiences like that as often anymore. And it really was like, whoa, surprise.
Yeah. Which is again why we wanted to invite you back over at the Conjuring House at the end of this like really, really intense week for us, because from what we have learned about the protection process and like being a little bit more cautious about everything, we're like, okay, if this is like going to be pretty much the most intense spiritual thing we've done ever, we'd love to make sure we're not taking anything home with us.
And not gonna lie, like you coming to give us like another tarot card reading was horrifying. Like we were like, you want to know this? Like, obviously loved having you there, of course, but we were just like, it was so accurate this last time that I was genuinely nervous getting the tarot like again. I was like, this could ruin the next 6 months.
What if it was another 6 months of sadness and depression? It's like, I can't handle it anymore.
It was intense.
No, you had all those happy yellow cards. Like your future looks very good. And would you like to have just a single card reading for both of you right now?
Oh,
It's just like horrible. Now.
Yeah, it's like,
oh man, sure.
We love it. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we got to break this fear. Tarot's not scary.
It was just, I think we had a bad first impression because of how negative our life was at that point.
The wheel is always turning, my friends. So I would like both of you to close your eyes, and I would like you to focus on a problem in your life that you would like an answer to. When you have thought of it and it's clear in your mind's eye, open your eyes for me. All right, so we're going to read Sam first. The Magician card. You know what? Didn't this card come up for you at the house?
I think so. I think that was like what happened in the Conjuring House. Yeah.
It is. Remember, we talked about this, you becoming the magician. You are learning how to control the elements, which are fire, air, earth, water, but it's not just the earth around you. It's what's inside of you as well. Your thoughts, your passions, the money, finances, and the emotions. This is very positive. So no scary here.
Yes. Okay.
One down.
That's beautiful.
One to go.
All right. Now, Colby, your card is the Hierophant card. So this card is the high priest of the temple. This represents traditionalism, structure. It represents spirituality and the merging of both the mundane and the spiritual. This is really positive as well. This shows you stepping into a leadership role.
Let's go.
Hey, that's amazing.
That's
okay,
awesome.
Good.
Yeah. See, to both happy major arcanas. Everything's okay.
That's what we're talking about. All right.
Thank God.
We don't have to be scared of tarot. All right. We got
No, you do not.
2 out of 3 readings that were more positive.
Yeah.
We got a good 66% going on.
There you go. So let's talk about before we get into the cleansing and removing, because low-key, y'all broke my ritual dagger. It's okay.
That happened. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that. It's fine.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm not mad. I was just surprised. But before, go ahead.
Yeah. We'll get into that after.
But before, we had used a spirit board. Now, this is my spirit board that I made by hand. It has all those funky, weird symbols on the back that you all saw. I didn't touch the board. I was acting as the priestess in that moment, helping the spirit stay in a container, which is your planchette.
Planchette. A planchette is a small wooden device used on a Ouija board to indicate what letters, numbers, or words the spirit is saying during a seance.
What was that like for you? Because you don't really use spirit boards very much on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. We stopped doing Ouija a long time ago just because we did hear it was just dangerous practice. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. But having you supervise everything and walk us through it and feeling like we were in a safe place while doing it, it was almost as mind-blowing as the Cody and Satori method, in my opinion, at least. We had tried to talk to a soldier. I believe his name was James. And we got somebody named James to communicate with us in the circle. And I'm not going to lie. I thought, Sam, you were moving it the entire time. But then afterwards, he asked me the same question.
I was like, I thought
so
he
you
was
were just
moving it. I was like, what were you trying to like spell? He's like, what do you mean? Like, whatever. Because, okay, every single time we've ever done any sort of Ouija board or spirit board or anything like that, we've always had like quite a few people doing it. So it's so hard to trust that those types of things are real. And we like, this is, I think, the first time we had ever done it by ourselves, or maybe like one of like 2. But anyway, it's so hard to like believe those types of things. But I knew because of how insanely like mind blown we were about everything else, and everything had been so like perfect this entire like Conjuring week. We were like, no, we were in this mindset of like, let's not screw with each other. Let's not make anything like happen or anything like that. And obviously like we trust each other. It's very hard to trust other friends, but like, obviously we trust each other. So, like the fact that like he wasn't doing it and I wasn't doing it. And like, we were like in this whole moment that we'd been talking to James and other spirits the entire week. It was very, very mind blowing. It was a feeling I can't describe. And it's very hard to describe to the public because a lot of people have very, very mixed opinions on things like spirit boards, but it genuinely felt like an energy that like was going through us that wasn't the mind. It wasn't even like our own minds doing it.
Yeah.
It's like being pushed.
We're barely touching it, and it would go super fast towards yes or no or whatever. And then again, there was like multiple answers where it would spell things that made zero sense whatsoever. And so to me, that was actually made it like a lot more believable as well, and not it just being like perfect every single time. Super cool.
What really, like for me, the self-doubt went away when I said, James, stop. And you both immediately, and I was like, whoa.
It was like in the middle of like going back and forth, and then you would say something and then it would like have a mind of its own and like go somewhere else. And it was it was definitely the single craziest spirit board thing we've ever done. And we haven't even done spirit board stuff in like 3+ years.
Hands down. Craziest spirit board.
Okay. So I actually, I was very curious during our work where it was going back between A and Z. And I was like, what is going on here? So I did some work on that later. And what the spirit James was trying to spell was, it was trying to say alpha omega. A and Z, the beginning and the end. So when you asked for that name, I think I was talking about God. I think we got that a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which would make sense because James, the soldiers said that they needed a higher power like God to free them. Help free them.
Oh, this time or last time?
Well, yeah, both.
Both times
Both
we've
times.
been there. Yeah, it's like they definitely had their story straight. That's for sure. We haven't gone back through the footage yet today that we're recording, so I can't remember exactly which question it was that went A to Z. But that is interesting.
Yeah, we asked for a name. That's what we did, and I was confused because there's a lot of different things that have AZ, and I was like, but it just kept going back between the two. It was like in a loop, and I was like alpha, omega, the beginning and the end, the cycle, the circle, it never ends. And I was like, okay, I get it now.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of those things that I'm like, I wanted to look back and see if there's a deeper meaning between all these things.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting too. I think what was one of the most shocking things about this type of communication and a lot of the communication we had throughout the entire week at the Conjuring House that we hadn't really gotten before is personality in spirits. So like a lot of the methods and the equipment that we use thus far on our channel are very much like direct, either one word answers or yes and no type of things, or like we have like feelings. But with something like this that was such like perfect, unaltered like communication that was like consistent over a period of time, what that kind of does for us is we can learn much more about their personality. So there's multiple times, especially with the talking with James, that we could really see like, oh no, like he doesn't want to talk to us. He was like, okay, can you guys like leave? Oh, I don't want more people to come over here and like hang out and bug me. And it was almost like, he was like almost funny with it. And that's an experience that I don't think we've really gotten before. It's like humor, but also like, he's almost not angry, but like kind of like, hey, screw off, guys. Like it's kind of funny. He had a personality, and that's something we haven't really been able to get to.
Yeah, he had a little bit of sass. It was fun. He was very chill though. Like he willingly went into the crystal for you guys, and he didn't give me any trouble. So James is cool in my book.
Yeah. No, we love James, but it was just funny to see that because that's just something we haven't really experienced.
It's like, guys, stop trying to talk to me. Please.
Yeah, let me be dead. I'm retired.
Yeah, don't need this anymore. It was so funny.
And then we did the big cleansing. Now, that had to be very different for you. It was your baby's first ritual circle. It was so fun.
It was awesome. It was really cool, like experience, like just the way it looked and stuff, and how we did it on like a crossroads and all that. And I just did the whole ordeal. It was awesome. It was so cool.
So for the people that are coming from like our video that may not really understand all the backstory of like the whole ritual that you did, can you kind of explain what you were attempting to do?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah, so the big goal of the cleansing ritual is you two, when you are in a haunted place, you're so open, which you need to be in order to do your job. However, that causes a lot of problems for your energy field. So when I divined, before even going out there, I knew that you both had attachments from this particular home and then some other attachments from other places that need to be removed. So I called up my priestess friend and I was like, hi, priestess of Hecate, help. I need to do this, and I need to do it in a way that the public can see. And so my friend helped me develop this ritual for you, where we went to a crossroads. We opened up a liminal space, a protected liminal space, so I could go through and remove all of the cords from your body. And let me tell you, Colby, it was ugly on your head. I'm sorry. It was very scary.
Ugly head,
but I have an ugly head. Yeah, no. Apparently there was a bunch of tentacles and roots protruding out of my limbs. And yeah, what happened? We were trying to cut off. Was it the one from my head or my ankles?
So what happened was so I had successfully removed the tentacles from your head, and I was like, whew, the hard stuff's over. Yay. And then I went over to your feet, and the dagger cracked in half. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
It's like a solid, thick crystal dagger, right?
Yeah. It's being repaired right now. So it's an obsidian dagger with malachite. And this is a very potent, strong crystal combination. And it, like, when I looked at it, it was clear through, a clear straight cut. And it's not like I was digging into your skin. Like, I was just very lightly grazing over you.
Damn, it just snapped in half. What do you think that means? Do you think we got the attachments off? It was just a hard process.
Hey, swords break, man. When there's too much pressure coming from the side, it meant the crystals used their energy and it was tapped out, which is why I brought the backup dagger.
Imagine if you didn't have the backup dagger and we're just still like having attachments today.
Yeah, I would have had to use my own energy, which would have worked. It would have just taken a lot longer.
Okay. Sounds good.
Well, for that, we had a backup dagger.
Yeah. And so we pulled it off of the head, the tentacles, and then we also
okay,
Sam,
so before we go any further, just for the people watching, what do cords and tentacles mean for people? Because like we're using these words, but like I know that the general audience does not really understand.
Cords and attachments happen to everyone. So it's like a highway of information that's exchanged. So let's say you created a cord with James. You now have a highway of information being exchanged that doesn't deteriorate. It doesn't go away. It needs to be removed or severed.
Okay. Wait, so is there a cord that gets created with every single spirit that you talk to, or is it only certain spirits?
Every single person and every single spirit.
Wow. So we probably had hundreds.
I was going to say, so
you did.
Like if we weren't cleansing ourselves or saying our whatever goodbyes, then we probably got an attachment for like every single place we've gone to.
That's right. And you did. The first time I met you, I told you looked muddy. And that's because you had so much energy coming in from other places. Your auras were not clean. They're not your energies. So let's remove all that so you two can have your own energy vessel.
That'd be great.
Oh, wow.
So we're clean now, though.
I mean, since like the last time I saw you.
That's all I care about.
See, we haven't gone to anything. No, I don't think haunted.
Conjuring was last.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten to any like hot spots since we saw you. So hopefully we're okay.
Yeah, and you got the number. You can call me if you need me. I'll be Ghostbusters for you guys. So when I did two different kinds of workings with you. They were both cord cutting, but for Colby, we went into outer space and we did this work. But for Sam, we went into the library of your unconscious mind. Could you tell me what that looked like?
Oh yeah, that was really, really interesting. It was like being in a lucid dream, because I felt like I wasn't necessarily like right there, but like I could tell I was, in the forest on the crossroads, but I also was like in this weird library that was my own memories. And it was almost like I could see these giant walls all around me with like books. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm like in my life. I don't like if you've ever seen the movie Interstellar, it kind of looked like I was in like the Interstellar thing with like all the books around me where I could pick out my memories or like go to any area. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. I can kind of see my life flash before my eyes real quick. It's kind of crazy. It was like insane. It was like one of like it just felt like an amazing dream,
Yeah, you both were very receptive to the trance, which was really nice. And it really helped you find the chords. Where did you feel them the most?
I think I remember having one like on my like back, and that always ends up happening. Like in general, I remember in most of our videos, like in the past, even like whenever I feel like things getting heavy. Like it always comes to my back first, which is really interesting. That, and I think the neck, which we knew from the very, very first time we met, like that was where a lot of like the attachments were. And then I think also for some reason the feet too.
Feet. Yeah.
But yeah, it was
both of you.
Dance.
Like curls up and like goes into your aura. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing.
Not nice at all.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad I didn't know about this stuff prior. Like, so I would be like, oh, you have a tentacle on your
I
head.
have tentacles coming out of my skull. Pretty scary.
You said
very hentai
you don't
of you.
really do that very often. That was like the first time you'd done said ritual in a very long time, right?
Right, in a place like that at a liminal crossroads. So I do cord cutting with other clients, but it's usually long distance. Usually I do it via the computer, or sometimes I go to people's homes and do it. But doing it in a crossroads with Ekate like that, the invocation that I did to Ekate was from the magical Greek papyri, and it's ancient. It's an ancient spell to bring forth that goddess. Did you feel her energy?
Yeah, no, 100%.
I could definitely feel like, especially I don't know if it was the same one too, but when your invocation right before the spirit board session too, it felt different. And that's also why I was like so infatuated with the spirit board, because I was like, oh, this feels way different than any other spirit board session I've had before. Like as if something did change. Yeah.
Yeah. So we created a sacred space. So we called in the archangels and cleared away all the debris of that space, because you want, like I said, a clean liminal space, and then pulling in the energy. So both those, I used two different goddesses for that. Did you feel a difference between them?
Don't think I could tell, but I'm also like,
okay.
I don't think I've ever felt the goddesses before. So like maybe you're just new.
It's okay. Thanks. I appreciate that. So this is your big 10-year accumulation. What's next for you guys?
That is process the Conjuring, honestly. Process like what just happened to us. And obviously this is going to be probably the most important piece of content that we ever post, ever. So yeah, right now it's just making sure that it's a masterpiece and that we get the message right, and the message that the spirits wanted to give us right to the people, and then see where that takes us. Because we have a big feeling that after October, a lot of things are going to change for all the people that see this video and us spreading this message out to people.
Yeah, for as much as we've done in the past, we think that this specific video is much more like proof to like, especially skeptics. This is like much more hard proof of the afterlife than we've ever captured before. So we're really, really interested to see like how the audience kind of takes all this and like what that does to like the way that we also go about like paranormal stuff. Because after this, at least from our personal perspective, it like definitely changes the way that we want to go about this and like what direction we want to learn and stuff. Just because like at the end of the day, we were able to, up until this point, get certain answers. Like I said, like, yes or no things or one word things, but now like understanding the personalities and the types of like communication you have, even from people that are not necessarily on that property. It could be like anywhere at any time, like different spirits coming through. It's really like opens our mind to realizing we don't know nearly as much as we expected we knew.
Well, it was literally like we were on a phone call with the afterlife. Like all of our other like methods and equipment that we've used in the past, like you were saying, one word answers. Closest thing that we have to more communication is the Estes method.
Estes method, a ghost hunting technique that isolates noise from an SB7 spirit box, which is a device that sweeps the radio for noise. It is possible to hear phrases that are controlled by a spirit.
And still that is using like a radio songs and talk radio and stuff like that to send messages. This was an audible thing that everybody could hear in the room that would knock back like to an alphabet where we were literally talking to something in front of us. It was just on a whole different level.
Absolutely. Like, I can't imagine, like, going through that. It's quite literally, guys, a spiritual awakening. Let's call it what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. It's also very, very hopeful. I think, like I said, like
Oh.
this comparatively to a lot of the stuff we've done in the past is so much more proof that I think all the people that didn't necessarily believe in the things that we did prior to this now probably have a different perspective. And so like when they go into watching our videos and like seeing like our adventures, they probably have a different, take on things, or at least like in like our world and like, going forward, it's like, okay, like what more can you actually learn about it? Like when you get this much proof of the afterlife, it's kind of like, oh, then it just really opens up all these other questions. I think actually the Conjuring House, if I'm being honest, gave me more questions than, I had before. Yeah, we got a lot of answers, way more questions.
That is the way of the occult. You find one answer and 10 more questions appear.
Yeah, and that definitely happened for us.
So I have one more question for you before we wrap up today. So I gave you both some homework after we left the Conjuring House. I see you've got your key on. That's good. I want to tell you the story behind that key. So both of those, I was working with my priestess friend, and she said, "Oh, well, why don't you consecrate some keys for them?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea. That's like a great mode of protection and communication with the goddess." And I went to the Crooked Path where I work on Tuesdays, and I was looking around because she said she left me some keys, and I found them in the shrine of Hecate. And I was like, oh, these are perfect. They're like not big. They're like the perfect size. And I took them, and she called me after work and said, "I'm so sorry. I forgot to drop the keys off for you." And I was like, "What do you mean? These aren't the keys?" And I sent her a picture. She's like, "No, those aren't mine. Where did you find them?" I said, "Oh, I found them in the Hecate room, like at the preparation for prayer." And she's like, "She sent those to you."
Whoa!
Wait, what? So they just like appeared for you?
Yeah. She just told me that on Sunday, she's like, "On Tuesday, I'll leave you some keys." She didn't tell me where. So I'm like looking through the store. I'm like, oh, she probably put them in the shrine room. Of course she would. So I go up there, and then there's a preparation for prayer. There's candles, incense, and there were 2 keys right there. I was like, oh, these are perfect. Oh, you're so smart, Raylene. And she called me and she's like, "Hey, I'm so sorry to drop those keys off. I forgot to do that for you." And I was like, but I have these already. These are not the keys. So those were specially sent to you two.
That's insane. Yeah. So for the people watching, they saw in the video us like wearing wearing the necklaces, and they saw that process. And I think like all that was explained was that they were like there to help protect us. But could you explain like what their real purpose was long term? For everyone?
So the long-term purpose there is so first of all, keys are a very special symbol. They unlock doors, they unlock hidden knowledge, and they're also to close things, to protect you and your energy. So what you have there is a connection to the goddess Hecate. I've asked her for long-term to bless you and watch over you two as you journey.
Thank you. I think that's literally what we need in our lives.
I'm wearing this every day,
especially because we go back and forth to all these places all the time.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you also had to do a cleansing bath. How did that go? Did you complete them?
Yes, so we did a bunch of salt showers.
It
was awesome.
Intense, but I think it's worth it, especially considering we've never done like a crazy cleansing before, and apparently we have many cords and other things that we needed to kind of get rid of. So no, definitely appreciate the whole cleansing ritual, because now I feel like we're on much more of a clean slate, if you will.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad you completed it. Some people, just like antibiotics, they don't always complete the regimen. So I'm glad you two did.
Hopefully it helps. Fingers crossed.
And again, thank you for coming too to the Conjuring House. It was such a cool like full circle moment to start our year with you and then end our year with you. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sam and Colby. I'll be honest, I kind of balk a little bit at the paranormal stuff because I think it's not as sophisticated, but you two really impressed me. You two have the dedication. You two have the curiosity that someone who studies and is interested in the occult needs. And that includes healthy skepticism and healthy belief. And whatever you two do, I am very excited to see your next steps. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you having us on. Yeah, thank you.
And until next time, mystics, stay magical. The Occult Unveiled is produced by F Street Productions and M is for Magic. Our executive producers are Ashley Ryan, Michael A. Simon, and Scott Kushner. Our show is produced by Deborah Simon. Our audio producer is Bill Schultz. Our talent booker is Perry Turcott. Laura Kaufman is our coordinator. Thank you for listening, and for more information on any of the topics you heard today, plus really cool links and ways to learn about Ashley, Pythian, and all of our guests, go to theoccultunveiled.com website. The Occult Unveiled, copyright 2023.